What is going on, Chelsea fans? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a little bit. Obviously, I last spoke to you guys before the Wolves game, and now look at where we're standing. I'm excited. I can't lie. I was doubtful about a few things going into this season, but when you see a performance like that against Wolves, it's hard not to get excited because that shows the level that this Chelsea team can reach. When I start seeing other creators making videos telling people that they're scared about Chelsea and Chelsea are scary, I know we're doing something right. We're back. Look, I'm not saying Chelsea are back in terms of going and winning things because I don't think we're there yet. But for people to be talking about Chelsea before the season started as not being in their top 4 predictions, not being in their top 6, not being in their top 12 predictions, blah, 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 that was something that I needed to see. I needed to see what this Chelsea team was capable of. I needed to see what this manager was capable of getting these players to do. And I think we saw that against Wolves in an abundance. Yes, there are still weaknesses. Yes, there are slight issues. But oh my gosh, that second half, did we blow the Premier League away? Because no one expected that. Everyone was thinking, Chelsea 2-2 against Wolves. This is brilliant. Wolves don't look very good, blah, 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 blah. And then look at what happened. We absolutely found a weakness and exploited it and did it with ease. And then we had the strength on the bench to bring on Neto and Felix. Oh my gosh, it was exceptional. But I have to say, I'm concerned about Wolves, Theo. I can see you in the chat. Look, I'm worried about Wolves this season. I've already said it. I think they've lost some big players, and I think it might be a step too far for them if they don't replace them in the next few days. But getting back onto Chelsea, there's big news today. Big, 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 big news. I feel like the last couple of weeks, Chelsea have absolutely exploded onto the transfer market in terms of players that strike fear into the opponents. And that's what excites me. I've spent way too long this summer moaning and complaining about players that I didn't think Chelsea should be going after. And you guys in the comments have let me know as well. And in other streams, you've told me and you've said, look, we shouldn't be going after these players. This is Chelsea. And we all agreed. And then out of nowhere, Pedro Neto lands. And we're all like, hang on a minute. Pedro Neto, that's the type of signing Chelsea should be going after. And then we're now being linked with Osimhen on a consistent basis over the last couple of weeks because we did that big stream when it looked like there was a good deal on the table that I think should have happened. We've now offloaded Lukaku. There's now talks today about Toney. We've signed João Felix in amongst all that. That's 2 ready-made players to add into the team. And we saw their quality against Wolves. This excites me massively because I think too many times over the last couple of seasons, Chelsea going forward have been good, but they've been unconvincing. So many times going forward against Wolves, we look convincing, which was fantastic. That's why we scored 6 goals. And we scored goals with a lower XG. We scored goals from areas we shouldn't have been scoring from because our players are gifted, our players are talented, and they maximised on that. Because Noni Madueke, 2 seasons ago, having a chance on his right foot, doesn't turn into a goal. He scored 2 on his right foot because he's been working on it and he's been improving it. And Maresca's worked out a way to get Madueke into these situations where he's so dangerous. And that was against Wolves, obviously, but we saw him perform midweek against Servette in the Conference League as well. So that's exciting. People were saying, Cole Palmer's not going to be the same player this season. I've just seen him score and get 3 assists in a game. That's the exact same Cole Palmer I saw last season, if not better. So it's exciting. It is exciting. I think we're offloading players and we're doing it in a way that I'm not sure I'm happy with. But they are players that we've questioned a lot over the last few seasons. And we've said they haven't quite been good enough. And now we're getting rid of them and we're lifting off wages off of the books that are causing issues in terms of us not being able to strengthen the squad. If you can shift Sterling, Ben Chilwell, and Lukaku off the wage book, you're looking at over £1 million a week, I believe, in terms of how much money's being outlaid on them. So it's fantastic that we're doing that. Do I think we're doing it in the right way? Probably not. But ultimately, I'll take the improvement we can make if you can lose those players, because no one's going to sit here and tell me that we aren't a better team and we're not wasting money on these players, which we are. We're wasting money on Sterling to get 10 goals a season when you pay him that kind of money. You could go and sign 2 wingers, which we're probably going to do in Neto and potentially Sancho, and have double the output as you'll probably get from Sterling on 1 wage. The same with Osimhen. The money you're paying on Lukaku, you can go and sign an Osimhen or a Toney, and then even if they score 1 goal for Chelsea, they're having more of an output than the wages we're spending on Lukaku. Defensively, there are additions that need to be made. Ben Chilwell takes up a huge amount of the wage budget, and he's not getting in this Chelsea team right now. So in terms of outgoings, I have to say we've identified where the issues are. We've identified players that haven't been consistent. I do worry that we're getting rid of players that are good in the dressing room. I think Chilwell and Sterling are underestimated in that fact. I think a lot of players speak very highly about both of those. But I am excited at what that allows us to do. It seems like it gives us a bit of room to maneuver in the transfer market and start having these conversations that realistically they needed to happen. And when I see, there's a few things I want to speak about, but the biggest thing we have to talk about, and we have to get onto it, is this Osimhen offer. Because apparently today, when I woke up, we are being linked with Ivan Toney. By the end of the day, I'm being told by Damasio on Twitter that apparently we're making an official bid in the next couple of hours for Osimhen. We don't know what that bid's going to be. We don't know how that looks, but we are picking up the phone, speaking to Osimhen's agent, and getting a bid to ADL at Napoli, because they're happy. They've got Lukaku, but they're now in a position that they don't want to be in, because right now, as we speak, they're paying Romelu Lukaku and they're paying Victor Osimhen, and they don't want to do that. I can tell you that right now. They don't want to pay both. So now they've got to, quite sharpishly, get Osimhen off their books. And this is where I think we've tried to make something happen and not be a swap deal, because we're now in a position where we can turn around to Napoli and say, we know you don't want both of those. We want Osimhen. We've got to pay him these ridiculous wages that he wants. So we need a bit off the deal. And if you're looking at 50 to 70, 80 million for Osimhen, I think you talk about that, and that seems acceptable to me. 80 is on the high end, don't get me wrong. The closer it is to 50, I'm obviously going to be happier about, but it's not my money at the end of the day. If I'm seeing Osimhen at the end of the deadline, after the international break, in a Chelsea shirt, I'll be honest, I don't care how much we've spent. I just want to see him in Chelsea's team because I feel like it's this close. If Osimhen doesn't happen, the fact that we're actively apparently looking at Ivan Toney as well is unbelievable, because it tells me that Chelsea are trying to make something happen here with a number 9 before the end of the window. Ivan Toney isn't a bad player. Let's get that out there first of all. If you think Ivan Toney's a bad player, let me know in the comments down below. I think if we weren't being linked with Osimhen, we'd all snap off whoever's hand it is offering Ivan Toney and say, yes, please. Because I think he's a great fit. In terms of how we're playing, in terms of the style, I think he's a really, really good fit for this team. I've done it before. I've questioned the outside of football antics that come with Ivan Toney. You know that, you're aware of that. I've done it. But he does add goals. However, I don't think he adds as many goals as Osimhen might. I think he comes at an older age. I think he comes with a slight drop-off in form towards the end of last season for Brentford. Since the return from his ban, I don't think we saw the same Ivan Toney. And I think we also saw an Ivan Toney that he definitely relies on penalties. Not that Osimhen doesn't, by the way, because Osimhen scores penalties as well, takes penalties, however you look at it. That is limited at Chelsea. We know that. We've got Cole Palmer who takes penalties. We've seen that other players want to take penalties as well. It's good for the squad to have. Don't get me wrong. I want players in the squad that can take penalties, because if we're getting far in competitions, we all know there's a chance penalties come up. But I think Osimhen adds more goals in more scenarios than Ivan Toney. And that's why, for me right now, my preference is Osimhen. I think the age, I think the player suit Chelsea a lot more. I see Osimhen is fitting into this style that we've seen in snippets under Maresca more so than I see Ivan Toney. I think you have to change the style of football when Ivan Toney's on the pitch compared to, I think Victor Osimhen probably fits in a little bit better. I think Victor Osimhen probably shares more similarities to Jackson and the way he's been playing than Ivan Toney does to Jackson, which is it can be a good or a bad thing, by the way, because having a different profile might mean that you have a better chance from different opportunities and situations. So don't get me wrong, but I think Osimhen has everything Ivan Toney can do and a bit more, probably bar penalties, if I'm being honest with you. And the only other thing he probably doesn't have is Premier League experience. Well, he doesn't have that, but he's been in France, he's been in Germany, and he's been in Italy. It's not like he's not been around. He knows football. He's 25. That deal really excites me, as I'm sure it does all of you. And if you don't know, I'd love you to let me know in the comments. What's your preference? Say Osimhen 1 or Toney 1, or then the other player 2, in terms of what order you'd rather us go for. Would you rather sign Toney for probably a little bit less, or would you rather sign Osimhen, put 1 or 2? So for me, Osimhen is 1, Toney is 2. That's how I see it. So let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know your guys' thoughts as well, because there's a lot of Chelsea fans that can find pros in both of these moves, as can I. I think we're all going to have a preference, though. So let me know that. If you're new to the channel, make sure to drop a like. If we could hit 20 likes on this live, that would be fantastic. It's obviously great news for Chelsea. We've had some streams do really, really well recently, and we've smashed the like goal. So if we can do it again, that would be fantastic. But we also have to talk about outgoings and other rumours that are happening as well, because Neve says Osimhen 2, Osimhen 1, Toney 2. I probably agree with that, to be honest. That's where I'm at. And I think most Chelsea fans will be. Dan says if we get a top striker, we must get top 4. I absolutely agree with this. The more I think about it, the more I think that, yes, if we sign a player that is of an Osimhen or Toney level, we absolutely have to start talking about cementing top 4. When you've signed João Felix, when you've signed Pedro Neto, you have to. Theo also said, did I see Cancelo go to Al Hilal? I did. I just feel like that's a bit of a shame, because I feel like at a few seasons ago, João Cancelo had the world at his feet from fullback. And I think he went to Barcelona and they can't afford to buy him. And that's kind of where he's at now. Mumin is obviously Osimhen is 1. I kind of am expecting to see Osimhen first. Dan Knight says Osimhen first, Toney 2 for me. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Is Osimhen your preference or Toney? I'm interested to see if Toney's your preference, why? If Osimhen's your preference, why? I want to see where we're at as Chelsea fans. What do we think this team is crying out for? Because they're, in my opinion, they're very, very slightly different in what they add to this team. I think one adds a little bit more than the other. I think one comes for better value, potentially. But I think the other one is obviously a higher ceiling. And I think that's probably what Chelsea fans would be getting excited about. But let's address the other rumours at Chelsea Football Club and the other transfer dealings as well, because I think it's going to be a busy, busy, busy end to the window. First of all, hang on. Let me have a drink. Whilst I'm having a drink, if you haven't already, make sure to smash a like on the video. Dan Knight says, if we get Osimhen, do you think it'll be a loan or a permanent? Honestly, I think it's a permanent. I really, really think Chelsea are going for a permanent. I just don't see Napoli being happy with a loan. I just don't think that's what they want. I don't think it's what Osimhen wants. I don't think Osimhen wants anything to do with Napoli. I think Osimhen probably understands that we have to come to some sort of agreement here. We know he wants a lot of money on wages, but ultimately, I think there's going to be a workaround. I don't think he's going to be on the wages that he's on at Napoli, but I think there'll be a workaround. And I don't think we'd be putting in an official bid if we hadn't sort of worked something out on personal terms with Osimhen, if I'm being honest with you, because I think we know that Osimhen wants to leave. I bet we've spoken to his agent. And if we've agreed that, we'll pick up the phone and we'll put in a bid. And that's kind of how I see it, to be honest with you. I don't see us wasting time on putting in a bid if we know we can't get close to his wage demands or financials of this deal. So I think this is happening behind the scenes. Chelsea are on the phone. They've worked something out. I heard the other day it could be that we pay like a ridiculous signing on fee to Osimhen that kind of puts him on the same wage as where we need everyone to be at, but he also earns a bit of money that subsidizes this deal at the same time. Neve says Osimhen wants a permanent or a loan with obligation. Exactly right. I don't think Osimhen wants to be there. Look, people are telling me Osimhen wasn't excited by Chelsea. Any player that saw Chelsea's performance at the weekend would think, hang on a minute, they're capable of that. I want to be a part of that. And that's what Chelsea used to do. We used to have that ability to go out and win a game and look fantastic or win something big, and then that would sway the player. We saw it with Hazard. Hazard was thinking, oh, I don't know about Chelsea at the moment. Chelsea they're in a little bit of a blip. We win the Champions League. He's like, hang on, that's where I'm going. They just won the Champions League. This is Chelsea at the end of the day. I'm going there. And that's what it does. Look, I'm not saying beating Wolves 6-2 is on a comparable level to the Championship, but it is a statement. It is a statement to go, hang on, Chelsea aren't done yet. And Osimhen, if you want to come, this is a team that are going to try and play attacking football. They're going to try and score goals. This is exciting. Dan Knight says secret meetings are happening at Chelsea for Osimhen. I think they are, and I think Osimhen wanted Chelsea, just didn't like the loan. Exactly right. I think these conversations are obviously happening. I don't think they're that secret. I think the kind of idea and how the structure of this deal is going to work, that's obviously being kept secret. And it always is. We're never going to know unless it is publicly put out there, or ADL comes out of a thing saying Chelsea are disgraceful, this is how much they offered, blah, blah. Because he's the type of guy to do that if he doesn't like the offer, by the way. He is definitely that type of person. And he'll make it difficult, I would say, for Osimhen trying to. He won't make it easy. Don't forget, they paid 70 million euros, I think, for Osimhen. So they are going to try and make sure they recoup as much of that money as possible. However, let's move on to the others. It looks like there's talk about Sancho and potentially Sterling in some sort of swap/separate deal scenario where we see one moving from Chelsea to Man United and one moving from Manchester United to Chelsea. What are your thoughts? Because this is a difficult one for me to navigate, because I don't know what Sancho you're signing. I believe Sancho is a player that offers a lot of quality if he's in the right environment. And I think that is what would be key. At Dortmund, Sancho is loved. He was in the team straight away. The fans love him. They know how good he can be. At Chelsea, it's like we know the Sancho that's played in the Premier League, and we know he hasn't been great. So he's not coming in the best regard. Whereas at Dortmund, they know the Sancho that's been playing or that's played for them. Kind of like the João Felix. We knew that João Felix clicked at Chelsea. We knew that João Felix felt at home. We knew that there was an instant connection between club and player. And we kind of all felt more confident than anyone looking from the outside in on the João Felix situation, right? So I think this is kind of where I am with Sancho, is that I'm probably taking that outside in view, is that Sancho needs a really good environment. Does Chelsea offer that to him right now? I'm not sure, because I don't know if there's a position open for Sancho right now. So it's instant competition. We've just signed Neto. Madueke's on fire. Cole Palmer can play on the right, and Kunku's got to play in the 10 somewhere. Felix is flexible. Jackson could be replaced up front and could potentially be a winger again, that some people have mentioned. We've still got Mudryk on the books. Where does Sancho fit in? Because that's kind of the issue, is where he fits in. I've just been on a stream on Never a Foul. They're telling me he's right wing all day. He's the backup to Madueke, or he's competing with Madueke for right wing. I kind of hear that. I think Neto is capable of playing right wing. I think Palmer's capable of playing right wing, even though I'd say he's better in the 10. I think on the left, Mudryk is an issue. I think Sterling's been an issue. Is Sancho a better player than both of them? No, I probably put him somewhere in the middle between Mudryk and Sterling. I think on his day, he probably is. I think Raheem Sterling on his day, as we've seen in years gone by, has been exceptional. Mudryk hasn't quite got there yet. And Sancho, we've seen at Dortmund, can be fantastic, but can also be the Sancho that we've seen at Manchester United, right? So it's like, which one are you getting? But if you're bringing Sancho off the bench, it's not a bad situation, is it? However, I think in terms of numbers, Sterling probably offers more. But he probably, although at the moment they're on comparable wages as well, I think if Sancho came to Chelsea, the wages probably wouldn't be comparable. I just think that Chelsea would view this as one where Sancho would come, be given a second opportunity at the Premier League, which he isn't getting from anyone else right now. He'd be put on good wages with a good wage structure of terms of earning bonuses and things like that, like we've seen elsewhere. Dan Knight says he thinks Sancho would be a pointless signing. So let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think Sancho would be a pointless signing? Because I don't think it's pointless if you let Sterling go. I think there's a space in the squad that sort of opens up there. There's a vacancy for a winger to potentially come in, even with the addition of Neto and Felix. But what player are you getting in Sancho? And I want you guys to help me out here. Do you think we get the Dortmund Sancho, or do we get a Sancho that we know has struggled in the Premier League at Manchester United? Would you take him? Do we work out a way to fit him in on wages, or are we going to break the wage barrier or wage sort of scenario for him? That's what I want to know, because if Sancho's coming in on the same wages as Sterling, what's the point in this deal? Because I think Sterling's a better player right now. I know incoming signings are more exciting, but we do need to loan and get rid of like 20 players. Indigo, I absolutely agree. And I do expect us to be busy. And whilst we're obviously going to talk, that kind of brings me on to a point as well that we've also signed a new goalkeeper today that we've been linked with for half the window, I think, called Penders from Belgium. I don't know much about him. I've heard a lot in terms of where people think this guy's ceiling could be, and it's exceptional. I've heard that we're going to leave him out there and he'll arrive similarly to what Courtois did. We now employ, or did employ, 9 goalkeepers, I think, and Kepa's now gone to Bournemouth. I'm not sure if that's a loan or a permanent. I just saw it. Haven't really put too much focus on that one. For me, if I'm being completely honest, I think Kepa was probably the best goalkeeper left at the club. But I just think there's too much history. There's too much in terms of his wages. I think he hasn't got to the level that we ever thought he was going to get to. But I still don't think Petrovic, Sanchez, Jorgensen or any of them are that good either. Don't get me wrong. I think Sanchez might have had a pretty good performance at the weekend, but I still don't think he's of the level I expect from a Chelsea goalkeeper. Don't know if Sancho is fast enough. It's been said, he won't get more than 150k. It's been said for him to come, he'll have to take a major pay cut. I agree. I think if Sancho turns up at Chelsea, he's definitely taking a pay cut. I think, look, we know Sancho at times, especially in the Premier League, has looked slow. He's looked like the pace of the Premier League might get away from him. It might be really difficult for him to sort of be competitive in a Premier League environment, because we've seen that at Manchester United. But we've also seen him play for Dortmund against really good teams, and they play this fluid counter-attacking style of play, and he looks fine. And the pace isn't really an issue because of what else he adds in terms of his technical ability and creativity and the speed of thought. And that's where I look at Chelsea and how we played against Wolves, and I think, hang on, Sancho looked like the sort of player that would fit into that system that we played against Wolves. Now, I'm not saying every game's going to look like that Wolves game, because I don't think it will. But if it looks like that more often than not against weaker opposition than us, then I think there's room for Sancho to fit in the squad. Because that looked like, look, that game against Wolves, if we had a yellow kit on, that doesn't look too similar from the Dortmund that we saw in the Champions League last season. In terms of their counter-attacking and the way they move the ball quickly and directly through the pitch, through the lines, Sancho thrives in that system. So I think there's room for Sancho to get in. But yeah, I don't think we'd be signing him as a starter, but it's good competition. I do think he's a level above Mudryk. I definitely do. So they said within minutes or hours, we'll bid for Osimhen and Napoli. Look, it's probably happening right now as we're speaking, isn't it? It probably is. We've got how many days till the transfer window closes? I don't know if it's Friday or the 2nd actually this year. Hang on one second. I'm just going to check. Unless anyone can let me know, when is deadline day? It's not long. It really isn't long. So we're Friday the 30th of August at 11 p.m. So we've got a week No, we haven't. We've got we've got 5 days. Is that right? 5 days to make it happen. So we absolutely have to be getting to work at the moment if we are going to make a transfer happen. And I think this is why the Toney talks started coming out, because I think they're considering that if Osimhen becomes too difficult, Toney's there, and I think Toney would rather take a Premier League move than a Saudi move right now. We've got 3 days. Yeah, you're right. 3 days, 4 days, really, if you count today as one that's been working. So, yeah, look, we've got to make something happen. I'm sure they're working heavily on it right now. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm a bit out of it in terms of days because it's a bank holiday here in England. I've been away all weekend in terms of days. I'm a little bit all over the place. It feels like it should be Monday to me. It's pretty much Wednesday. So, yeah, look, Chelsea are in a position where they're trying to make something happen, but this is exciting. This is exciting for me as a Chelsea fan. It's probably exciting for the players to see. Look, all right, they're going to be questioning that. Hang on, is my place at risk here? But it's also exciting to see that the club is ambitious. It's not just trying to sign players that are all about potential. Don't get me wrong. Sancho is the type of player that comes with opportunity. If you look at Sancho and you get him for a cheaper cut price deal than what he should be worth because of how his career sort of panned out at Manchester United so far, then he starts performing. The Sancho you're looking at is potentially unbelievable. Like off the back of where he was when he went to Manchester United from Dortmund, you make profit on him potentially if you're Chelsea and he does it for the next 3 years and then he's at a level where we've seen him be before. The thing is that wears out very quickly is that there's a line for Sancho right now. It's where he was with potential and where he could be. And we if we were to sign him, we need him to hit the ground running and we need him to feel comfortable pretty quickly. Boxing Status says, let's get both. Do you mean let's get Toney and Osimhen, or do you mean Sancho and one of the strikers? Because both strikers would be one. I don't know how it'd work, but we always had a good amount of quality. Like we used to have Drogba and Elka and Torres, and we made that work. So ultimately, if you sign both, you start talking about serious levels of competition in the squad and what you could achieve. You're talking about players that are like 2 or 3 players capable of scoring over 15 goals a season. Wow, that'd be exceptional. Osimhen and Sancho. Yeah, I think Osimhen and Sancho, for me, if we finish the window on that, would be exceptional. I wouldn't have seen that coming. To lose Sterling, I would think, have we replaced him? I think with Neto and Sancho and Felix arriving, I think you probably do. And I just think that Sterling was brought in to be a certain type of player that he's not quite been at Chelsea. And I think he probably needs a move to freshen things up, even though I think he really wanted to prove everyone wrong. He wanted to say, look, I'm good enough to go and do this job I've been asked to do at Chelsea. But I just feel like the board have probably given up on him and they think they've given him enough time. And they realise that if they don't move him on and he has another bad season, he's going to be worth not a lot of money. And they're probably better off getting the wages off the books now than in next year when he's worth a little bit less. He's over 30. If they can move him on before 30, I think they'll be happy with that. If, in my opinion, if we sign Osimhen, we've got a complete attack. Really only to fix defence and goalkeeper. Neves, this is what I was going to get to. I'm going to be completely honest, is that if we finish the transfer window with those additions, don't get me wrong, I'll be over the moon. But I still did see some issues against Wolves. The fact that Wolves finished with a higher XG than us, it does say that ultimately we're still giving them opportunities to score that they weren't good enough to take. But a better team scores those goals. I think Renato Vega is a player that looks very, very good. I think Cucurella looks okay. I think Levi Colwill actually didn't have a bad game. I think Wesley Fofana looks okay. I still think he looks rusty. I think he just needs minutes and he needs to stay fit. But I don't think that defense is going to be consistent this season. And if we wanted to achieve this season, if we're talking about getting top 4, winning a trophy, potentially challenging for for things even more exciting than that, I'd want the defense to be improved. If we're saying, can we get top 4 now whilst having this defense that's sort of all over the place, and it could be a little bit of a roller coaster, and then next season we improve on that, and then everything else is sort of figured out, and the defense just sort of clicks and works out, that I could also live with that as well. Because if we improve the defense and we sign Osimhen and we have this whole rest of the team, you start talking about this Chelsea side being in a position to really start looking at Arsenal, Manchester City and Liverpool and saying, can we get amongst that? If we don't sign a defender, we're not at that level yet. Even with the attackers that we might have, we won't be able to outscore every team. And I think we would have a complete attack. I'd still question midfield, but I want to get onto that in a minute. Defense, there are still issues that need to be addressed, but with time, I think they will be. And the same with goalkeeper. We need to probably go, look, Sanchez, have the full season. If you cost us a lot of points, we're going to move you on. It's as simple as that. We know you're probably not good enough. But I can tell you right now, they're looking at it going, look at what Sanchez did. We let in 2 goals. He's all right, he let in 2 goals. Could he have done better? But he also did create one, and they'll be loving that. So it's an interesting one. If Chelsea improve the defence of their goalkeeper and sign a striker, you're talking about winning things. You're not talking about competing for top 4. Signing Osimhen sounds like you're talking about winning things as well, by the way. I just think it'll be interesting. Yeah, I've seen this as well. I'll get onto that point that you've just made, Nees. Osimhen and Sancho, sell Sterling, Chilwell, Datro, bro. Yeah, it's all possible. Yeah, look, loads of players could still leave in these few days. I really think they could. I'm totally fine with Sterling moving on. His treatment is unprofessional, lacks class, but we don't need Sancho, I feel. Do you know what? If we weren't getting Sancho, I'd probably be like, okay, but I feel like this is one of them sort of deals that we've already seen happen this summer, which is like a PSR deal. And it's if Chelsea need someone to buy Sterling, we need to take someone off the books of another team. And do you know what? If you do get Sancho for Sterling, you get a second roll of the dice. That's all I'm saying is we know he's probably not quite been at the level that we've seen Raheem Sterling be at or done well in the Prem, but you get that second roll of the dice. You just get a chance. And I think right now, I'm willing to take that chance because we've tried it with Sterling. It didn't really work. Neve said, they've said if we sell Dazassi, we might keep Chalobah. Look, I'm going to be honest. Trev probably would stay. He probably would. And we know the type of player that he is. And he'll come back fighting like he did before after they said they wanted him gone. But it'll be the same story next summer. And it'll be the same story after that. And if I was Trev, I'd probably try and find my way out of the club because they're always going to keep treating him like that. What? Trev's better than that, man. If Dazassi, Trev's better than Dazassi. And if Dazassi goes and then they're like, oh, Trev, come back. We're sorry we treated you like that. They'll only do it again in the season. Trev needs to find a move. And he needs to move on. I know he won't feel happy with that, and he'll feel like he's being really harshly put out by the team, by the squad. But they've decided that Trevor Chalobah is pure profit rather than anything else. And I think Maresca's probably decided that as well. Because if Maresca wanted a player in the team, they wouldn't be banished. Because they wouldn't be. Look at Pochettino last year. He wanted Conor Gallagher, and they let him play with Conor Gallagher. Because they realised, actually, that Conor Gallagher will make the money come the end of the season if he has a good season. And the same with Maresca. I think if Maresca wanted Chalobah to be part of the squad, he'd be part of it. It was like Chilwell. He didn't want Chilwell to be part of this squad. He didn't want Sterling to be part of this squad. He wants to move them on. And that's why the board are supporting him in that sort of sense as well. But I realistically expect Chelsea to still, right now, as we speak with this squad, to be looking at 5th place. I don't think there's enough right now to break into that top 4 and guarantee something. Look, if fixtures start going our way and other teams slip up and have worse seasons, it could happen. But what I will say is that if we make the additions that we're being rumoured to make before the end of the deadline day, that changes instantly. If a striker of the quality of Osimhen or Toney arrive, my expectation is top 4 as an absolute minimum. An absolute minimum, probably throw a trophy in. Because we spent so much money. And yeah, we've made a lot of mistakes. And yeah, we've spent a lot of money on players that could be prospects. But all of a sudden, you've added Neto, Felix, Osimhen, and potentially a Sancho into the team. Then you start talking about winning stuff. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think that if those type of players arrive, we suddenly start looking at being part of the top four again? Trev acting like he's well. I don't know if that's true about Trev. I'm not sure. I think Trev wants a move that he feels is at a good level. The thing with Chalobah, if he doesn't get a good move, he could fall off into obscurity because he's not an England international. He's not a player that is on everyone's lips. Even last year when he had good performances, it wasn't being raved about. No one was saying, "I'll take Trevor to the Euros," even though he'd been quite good. So he needs to get somewhere and just get playing. I don't know. Maybe a Villa isn't like an unrealistic move for him. Maybe someone in and around that, like Spurs or Newcastle. You know, if Gay doesn't go there, or if Gay goes, maybe he goes to Palace because they've lost to Anderson. But I don't know if Palace can pay for Trev until Gay goes. So you know what it's like in the transfer window. It can all suddenly happen if one move works out, right? I think Trev is well within his rights to stay if he wants to, because they've given him a contract and it's down to the board. The board have messed up giving Trev that type of contract. If they wanted him gone, they shouldn't have given him that contract. But ultimately, yeah, if Trev stays there and is happy to wash his career away by sitting in Chelsea's team until his contract runs out in training with the under-21s, then all like just fair enough, go and do it. But I wouldn't want to be back in the squad if they turn around to me after all of this and said, "Look, we've sold Disasi, we want you back now, Trev." I probably wouldn't be happy with that if I was Trev. I'd want to move. Let me know what you guys think as well. Osimhen finishes the chances, and from what we've seen till now, Maresca rotates and does a lot to keep the players fit. So, look, people are saying this to me, but we have had Reece James has already picked up an injury. Cole Palmer had a tweak, and Lavi has picked up an injury. So there's nothing new there. We're still seeing injuries. Okay, Pochettino had more going into the season, but if we play that high-intensity counter-attack for the rest of the season, there'll be injuries. You can't run up and down like that all season long without getting injuries. I'll tell you that right now. We need a sort of goalkeeper. I'll be honest, I expected Chelsea to play a slightly different style of football than the football we played against Wolves and the football we played against Manchester City. I thought it would be a lot more slower, a lot more, probably a little bit more similar to like what I've seen Arne Slot do at Liverpool at the moment. More like Pep Guardiola, more like Arteta and how they play. The way we looked against Wolves, we looked exciting. That is not the type of football I expected to see from Maresca, because I've watched the footage of Leicester and I didn't see that at all times. So maybe he'll pick and choose when he wants us to play like that. We need a solid goalkeeper, defensive midfield to win major shots. Yeah, look, I agree. I think the back line is still an issue. I think this is very true. Give him time. Let's see. It's very early days and there's more evidence with him than we saw with Poch already. He's still adjusting. It's not settled yet. I completely agree, because the squad's not even settled. We don't know. Imagine you think your squad's settled and you're like, right, you're going into the season with Jackson as your striker, and then you get a call tomorrow morning from the owners. They're like, look, we've signed you Osimhen. He's going to be there after the international break, blah, 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 blah. What do you think of that? You're going to go, oh my gosh, hang on. I was preparing for life with Jackson. Now I've got Osimhen. And then a day later, they ring you up and say, oh, we've got Sancho coming in for Sterling, who you didn't want, by the way. Maresca's, of course, he's going to have to keep adjusting because he's going to have to change things up. He doesn't know his best 11. As Maffy is saying here, this is exactly what it's going to be. It's until you get that settled squad and you start to have enough games to evaluate everyone, you can't judge Maresca. But you can evaluate what he's doing in that time. And right now, even with the mistakes he's made, I've seen improvements game after game after game. And I like the way he addresses us as fans in his press conferences. I like how he speaks about certain issues in his press conferences. They asked him if he was brutal the other day. I would say he's brutally honest. I think, yes, there is a way to do it for some managers. But Maresca's brutally honest. There's no messing about with that. And I have a lot of respect for that, because I'd much rather someone tell me how it was. Imagine you come out and say, oh, I like Sterling, he's a good player, yeah, he's great. And then a week later, you're sold and you're not training with the team. If he comes out and he says, look, you're not going to get minutes to him, and they're well aware of that, they can get on their phone to their agent and say, find me a move, that's way better. And I'll take that. And he's brutal enough to come out and say, look, Noni's a good player, but he's got to be more consistent. And then he scores 4 goals in 2 games because he's a good man manager in that sense. He's working out how to press buttons, and that's what the best of the best do, like Mourinho. We've seen him do that for years, and the improvements are minimal at the moment, but on the grand scheme of things after a season, I expect to see big improvements from last season on the sample that I've seen already. And I might be jumping the gun, but I didn't see Poch doing this. I didn't see him doing it for like 20 games. Maresca addressed the high line already. You know that high line in pre-season? That's gone. I expected better football against Manchester City. It didn't happen. We weren't brave enough. We didn't try to play through the lines. Against Servette in the second half and Wolves in that game, we tried to play through the lines. Defensively, there are still some issues. We're making individual errors. We're making mistakes in that sense. That'll change, though. I guarantee that changes. I absolutely do. The second half set the standard. Maresca will demand it now. Exactly that. Maresca's seen what this team's capable of. He's not going to let that drop now. And if players drop below that level, they'll be out the team because the competition of this squad is so high. It's the highest it's been like in a while. If you think about it, Chelsea's squad hasn't had this type of competition and this amount of players that are hungry in a while, in my opinion. I don't think it's been there. I think players have been very comfy, very happy to just sort of chill and take their payday. So this is an exciting one for me in terms of where I think this team could go because of what we've seen from Maresca. And that's that. How can you not get excited? That's why people are talking about Chelsea being scary, because that's what's happening. Guys, we are 2 likes away from the like goal I set for this video, which is 20. So if we can make that happen, that'd be fantastic. If Chelsea could be signing Osimhen, Sancho, or Toney, come on, drop a like on the video. That's so exciting because it was only a couple of weeks ago. I was sat here with all of you or sat on other streams and some of you are watching, and we're talking about Chelsea needing to make signings. We got to get excited about this. I think that deserves 20 likes. And if we can break that, that would be absolutely phenomenal. If you're watching afterwards as well, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. We are on the road to 3,000. After one of the lives the other day, we are so much closer. So I think we got 250, something like that, and we hit 3,000 on this channel, which is fantastic. I'm loving the community here. I'm loving turning on the camera, putting up the lives, and being able to chat about Chelsea and the news and the transfers and all that with you guys. I think it's fantastic. And if you support other teams as well, I'm going to do something about that so we can talk about football as a whole. Kaleo says, if we sign Toney, I'm starting him. I see him starting at first, and then eventually Jackson becomes first choice. I think Toney's probably better than Jackson right now, but Jackson could overtake Toney. Whereas I think if Osimhen comes in, Osimhen probably accelerates away and Jackson tries to keep up. But you still end up, however you look at it, with 2 very good strikers, in my opinion. This Toney, imagine, right? And you know what? I know that sounds silly because of the situation we're in right now. We're like, we only need 1 striker, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget, it weren't that long ago. Chelsea had Drogba. I say that long ago. It was a while, but we had Drogba, Anelka, Sturridge, Torres. We had abundance of amazing strikers. We used to rock around with Etu, Demba Ba, like loads of players as backup brigade, and they were still exceptional players. Loic Remy. We just need defense to stabilize. This will happen, right? And I want to make this point because I've spoke a lot about improving the defense. If our defense, we don't make additions, say we go this window and then January we don't make any defensive signings and we don't look great defensively, over time, the defense, because they're young, will learn Maresca's system and they will stabilize, and you will see the evident level. You'll see players getting a bit better. Wesley Fofana looked like a good player in the Premier League at 18, 19. If you're a good player, you're a good player. And you make a team look better. It's as simple as that. But this team does need a little bit of time to settle. And maybe, just maybe, they're not sure with the defense right now. Who's capable of being what? And that's what they might be trying to do. Gerald says you want Sancho. Look, I'm not. I could take or leave Sancho. If we didn't sign Sancho, I wouldn't be honest saying, "Oh, how have we not signed Sancho?" Blah blah blah. If we don't sign Osimhen or Toney, I'll feel like that's a big opportunity missed. When I see the scintillating attack that I saw against Wolves, just imagine adding the quality of striker of Toney or Osimhen to that team. If I add Sancho in, I go, I've already got Neto to bring on. I've got other players in the team, Felix that could come on, and Kunku, that I think already bring a similar level. We don't have a striker of Osimhen or Toney's quality. And that's probably why I can give or take. I can leave Sancho or get excited about Sancho coming. If Sancho comes, I'll be happy. I'll back Sancho to perform at Chelsea. I want him to perform, but I can take or leave it. And I'd love to know your guys' thoughts as well, because some people already on the comments have told me it's a waste of money. Some people have said to me that we should make it happen. Some people have said he definitely plays right wing. Some people have said he plays left. Some people have said he's the creative option. Let me know, guys, your thoughts right now. What do you think? Do you think we sign Sancho and he becomes creative? Do you want him? Because, like I said, I can take it or leave it. But Osimhen, I need that to happen. That's one I don't want to let get away by the end of this window, because I think it's there to be done. I think this is our best opportunity. Say he stays at Napoli or he goes to another team and he's phenomenal, has a really good season. We're never getting him, guys. We wouldn't stand a chance. AKA says, big up, Dan. Big up to you, AKA. Good to see you in here as well. What are your thoughts? Are you happy with where things are at the moment? How does it look? And Kunku fits back in with competition. And this is the beauty of it. And Kunku is a guy that in the Bundesliga 3 seasons ago, I think, maybe it's a bit more, he's had a lot of injuries, scored 40 goals in a season. And Kunku is good enough to fit back into this team with his quality and his ability and with desire. But that's the beauty. If you don't want it and you don't want to get back in this team, you're not getting back in. Maresca's already told you that. If you don't want to work hard in training and you don't want to work hard game to game, you're not going to be in this Chelsea side. And that's how Nkunku fits back in. Hard work, determination, evidence, and end product, right? He's got to score goals, got to show evidence that he deserves to be in it, got to work hard because Maresca's demanding that, and you've got to have desire to want to be in this team. And if you don't have those, you don't get in and you get moved on. And maybe, just maybe, Sterling didn't have enough of that. The defensive problems are shown not to be personnel-wise. It's getting, yes and no. Like Wesley Fofana's made a couple of slip-ups. I think Levi Colwell's not looked amazing. Tosin hasn't looked great. Keeper's not looked fantastic. He did stitch Wesley up the other day with that pass. They're individual errors. They're silly. But I do think with a bit of time, they iron out. These guys haven't played loads of football. Levi Colwell's probably played the most. Sanchez got dropped halfway through. Fofana's barely played. Renato Vega's new. Cucurella's had big injuries and surgeries. I really like Renato Vega, though. I think this could be similar to Gusto. You know, like Gusto, none of us really knew what he was about. And a lot of people said he was a winger who'd fallen back to right back because he didn't quite have it when he was coming through the academy at Lyon. Now look, we're talking about arguably the third best right back in the league. So I kind of am excited by Renato Vega. I can't lie. He really, really has impressed me every time I've seen him play. He's a physical monster, a powerhouse. He moves so well for his build and his size. He's good on the ball. He's comfortable enough to invert and play in that midfield role. And defensively, from what I've seen, he reads the game really well. He's there for an interception, there for a block, wins tackles. It's an exciting player, a really exciting player. And if I was Cucurella, I'd be looking over my shoulder. And this is what we've spoken about a lot today, is this competition, this depth of squad. This is exciting. This is what I want to see, because that ultimately ups levels and means you start winning things. If Sancho comes, I think Mudryk has probably done it. Yeah, see, this is the one. I think if Sancho comes, Mudryk gets, unless a loan happens out of nowhere, I think he gets till January. I think he gets till January and he needs to perform. I think basically the board have turned around to Maresca, and I think it's quite evident, and said, try and make Mudryk work. Because I think he's come out and said, like, we need more from Mudryk. In training, he's great, but we need more correct decisions because the quality is there. And I think that's what frustrates all of us is like, if you could make the right decisions, mate, you'd be great. And he just, so often he doesn't make the right decisions. So look, he needs a, I'm going to be honest here. I think Mudrik's ability is great. I think his footballing education for a while now has probably been poor, if I'm being honest with you. Osimhen, 65 million is cheap. Let's be real, that's just the price by fit. Yeah, exactly right. They've dropped so much money off of the price tag of Osimhen. We should be making that happen. And that's why I wouldn't be able to accept this deal not happening right now when we're in desperate need of a striker and he's this affordable in terms of what a club want. Yes, the wages are an issue, but there are plenty of footballers in world football earning the money that Osimhen does. Cook will be back fit. Lavia is injured. Casado was subbed off because of rough play. Look, you just never know. And I think this is the beauty of this is that Nkunku could play out wide if he's needed. He could play through the middle. We've seen it with Cole Palmer already. Nkunku could play up top. They're flexible players. They're fluid players. It's a fluid system, and there'll be room for them to fit in. And we're only going to know with time. And we're only going to know if Maresca's the type of manager that picks his best 11. I don't know if anyone's in here that was a Leicester fan, but did he settle on an 11 or was it different every? Because we just don't know. Some managers love a small squad and a settled 11. Maresca might like the fact that he's got more players to work with. I saw a thing that I do need to look at, but apparently, Maresca said that he's only working with 21 players. So I need to watch that clip and see what that is. But I saw it on TalkSport a little bit earlier, actually. We'll get through what you guys are saying as well. Vega, left back, centre back, CDM, centre mid, Swiss Army knife. I love that considering where we signed him from. Who let us have him? That is the beauty of intense scouting and recruitment that Chelsea have obviously got a massive drive on at the moment in terms of trying to make profit on these players and beating the likes of Brighton and those kind of teams to this level of player, right? And we missed out on Calafiori, and we're kind of that would have been a good player to get. Now look, we gone and got Vega. He looks pretty comfortable. He does look pretty good. So that might be a snipe at 12 million. It really might prove to be unbelievable business. Can Jackson give them the team what they want? I don't think on his own. I'm going to be honest. I don't think on his own. I feel for Jackson because he's good. He is good. But the chances this team's creating, he could be scoring Haaland amount of goals. He could be scoring 20, 30 goals a season, but he gets 15. I think that's the issue, is that a real top quality striker's banging 30 goals in this Chelsea side. I genuinely think the opportunity's there. We're scoring 6 goals in a game. You've got to be looking at 20 goals as a minimum. And we've seen Jackson miss chances, be wasteful with his strikes and his opportunities. But then we see him score that header 2 minutes in. He's obviously switched on. We see him link up with Cole Palmer and it's great. But he needs competition. Mark Gui's not enough. And if the competition comes in that's better than him, then he'll have to up his game to try and get back in the side. Guys, there's 50 of us in here right now. That's like a huge amount of you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you want Osimhen? Do you want Toney? Let me know your preference. We've been doing it earlier on. For me, Osimhen number 1, Toney number 2. That's how I'm seeing it. Let me know in the chat right now. Put it in order. If you haven't already, smash a like. Do you think we could sign Sancho? Are you happy with Sterling leaving? We signed a new goalkeeper for 20 million today. What are your thoughts? There's so much Chelsea news. We've got, I think I've kind of got it right now, but we've got 3 or 4 days, basically, if you're counting today, of the transfer window being open. What deals do you see happening? Because we need to be swift if we're going to sign a striker because of the amount of money that's involved. I hope they've been working on it for weeks. Napoli, half the price. Exactly right. Have to make that happen. It's good business if we actually get it right. On what deal, Ams? Because I think quite a few of these deals could be good business. I think they could. If you sign Toney on a cut price deal because no one else wants him and he performs, that's great business. If you get Osimhen on a cut price deal, he performs, unbelievable business, because there could be a bigger move on the horizon for Osimhen and you could make profit, which would be crazy because of his age. Sancho, if he performs, you're looking at improving a player's worth again, improving your team whilst he's playing well. Sancho could be an unbelievable opportunity. The same with Felix, the same with Vega. Like, these players, you get them for such a low amount, and then or an affordable amount for what they could potentially be. It's such a good opportunity for Chelsea. It really is. A major issue we want to loan. Yeah, we've said this. Osimhen doesn't want to be at Napoli, basically, guys. He doesn't want to be there, and Chelsea have to take advantage for me. The Demon Nat said Osimhen 1, Toney 2. No, yeah, look, I saw the Calvert-Lewin links. I can't deal with that. Let him go Newcastle. I can't deal with it. Calvert-Lewin isn't better than Jackson. Doesn't offer anywhere near the competitiveness we need because he's barely ever fit. We don't need Calvert-Lewin. We need Osimhen. We signed Pedro Neto. We signed João Felix. We're talking about signing Sancho. Don't go and sign Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin's not the answer. Look, if Calvert-Lewin had been fit for the last 3 seasons, I believe he'd actually be in a better position, right? I'd probably be able to say, okay, fair enough. Calvert-Lewin is okay. Right now, not what we need. Let's let this story just fizzle out. We don't need to mention his name so it doesn't get picked up in the algorithm. We don't need Calvert-Lewin. This is horrific. I think about Jackson, he's created a lot of his chances from dropping. Yeah, I agree. Maybe the team is different enough. Yeah. So this is the... Right, let's talk about this because this is a really good point. A lot of people have been saying about this about Jackson. Jackson has been fantastic at creating opportunities by dropping deep, running with the ball. We've seen him do really well. We've also seen him do this and then not have the end product. Last year, Jackson had to do this because the midfield wasn't good enough. In Enzo, Caicedo, Gallagher, they couldn't create for him. What we saw against Wolves, and I want to praise him because I didn't think he looked very good against Manchester City, was Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez off the ball, won the ball higher, worked way harder than he did against Manchester City, and then was very smart in possession. What we used to see last year from Conor Gallagher was he'd win the ball higher up, and then he'd be wasteful in possession because he didn't quite have the quality. Enzo has the quality. And if Maresca's sussed out that is the role for Enzo, and he understands what he's got to do to make it happen in that role, he could be great. That could be him perfectly fitting in. I think Jackson had to make his own stuff happen so much last season because the team probably wasn't good enough, bar Cole Palmer, to make that happen. We've got players now that are built for servicing the striker, right? You've got Enzo playing a little bit further forward, winning the ball higher up, providing the ball. He literally won the ball and passed it to Cole Palmer like 4 or 5 times. And every time Cole Palmer had an opportunity or an assist off of it. Jackson will be making runs. Cole Palmer can find him. Madueke can find him. Pedro Neto can find him. João Felix can find him. And Kunku can find him. It just kind of takes that off of Jackson so he can focus on scoring goals. Osimhen already does that. Osimhen can make his own goals, which is the beauty of a fantastic striker. We know that with Diego Costa and Drogba. They make their own goals out of nothing. But they also will have unbelievable players providing them with chances and opportunities to put those chances in the back of the net and basically turn them into goals and an output. Jackson, we know, hasn't quite got to the level that he could. Look, there's no denying it. Last year, if Jackson was better and had more about him, he would have had 20, 25 goals. And he didn't. So we need to see a little bit more from him. We do, and that's why we're looking at a striker, because if Jackson was scoring 30 goals, we probably wouldn't be. It's Osimhen or but yeah, I agree. Like, we have to make Osimhen happen. Yes to Osimhen, no to Sancho. No to Sancho, even if Sterling leaves. Like, I feel like you live with it. Duran, look, I'll be honest. I think Duran looks okay. Every time I see him play, I think there's a talent there, but that's not what we need either. It just isn't. Give Duran a couple of years. Look, if Arsenal don't sign a striker and Chelsea do, Arsenal fans start looking over their shoulder a little bit. I know they won't want to hear that. I know they won't. And obviously, I'm joking a bit because I do think Arsenal are way further ahead. But they'll be annoyed. They'll be annoyed that Tottenham and Chelsea sign strikers and they don't. They will be livid. So watch Arsenal. Just watch that space, because I just think Arsenal may still sign one. More news for Osimhen. Haven't had on Twitter from let's have a look. Bear with me on this one. Bear with me. If anyone's got the link, put it in, or the news. I'm just trying to get it up right now. Chelsea, is that breaking news? Is it from He says Napoli believe Chelsea are going to bid for Osimhen on a permanent transfer due to drop in price tag. Chelsea want Osimhen on an incentive-driven contract. Otherwise, they are going to move to other targets. Guys, this is what I've been saying. This is what I've been saying for ages. Is that if the Osimhen deal happens, the contract is gonna have to be on incentive-driven contracts, because I think that's how it is at Chelsea right now. I think that's what we're about in terms of our wage structure. Let's see. Remember when you said Palmer should never start the Euros before you had more GNA, Foden and Saka combined? I'll be honest. I'll still stand by that point. By the time we got to the Euros, I feel like Southgate had his team. Palmer had an opportunity against Iceland, I believe, and he probably shouldn't have, because of what those players had already done. Palmer had to go to that Euros and take every opportunity he was given to show Southgate and to show England that he deserves, by the time the next tournament comes around, to be one of the first names on that team sheet. He did exactly that. He did everything I said that he had to do, and he did it. So now people aren't going to be talking about not playing Cole Palmer. The discussion is way, way more intense for Cole Palmer to start. Right then, look, Palmer didn't have an England national team reputation that Saka had and Foden had. They played in previous tournaments. He was new. I'll stand by that. He had to do exactly what I said. He did it. Now look, the next time England are playing, when the international break comes around and things like that, Cole Palmer will be up. People will be demanding that he starts for England. It's as simple. I've read the news, but I think we should sign Toney because he's apparently... Look, free kick threat. Okay, do we not have that? Probably not. It's probably one area that I feel like we need a free kick taker and a set piece taker that's really good. And if we could find that, that'd be fantastic. I feel like that's kind of a dying art in football. You used to look at players and be like, oh, that's a free kick threat, or he's a set piece. You know, like a James Ward-Prowse, although quality-wise he's not good enough to be playing for Chelsea, better players had that ability too. And I just don't see that as much anymore. Osimhen wants to stay in Europe. If he doesn't, look, I think you're right. I think if Osimhen wants to go, he either joins Chelsea, or someone in the dying minutes of the transfer window before it closes for Europe comes in and pays him the money that he wants and just goes, look, we can't miss out on a player like Osimhen. If that doesn't happen, I think he has to go Saudi. I think he does, even for a season. Has to go there, bang 50 goals, come back and say, look, I've scored 50 goals in Saudi Arabia. I do want to play in European football, and I'm willing to take these wages. The thing is, if he wants money, and it's all about money for us, they just go Saudi. They'll pay you more than you can ever dream of. I think Osimhen is still hungry enough to want to achieve something in European football before he goes. Yeah, so that's kind of how it is. I'm not happy if Chelsea finish this transfer window and we haven't signed a striker. I'll be so gutted, because I feel like it's really easy. I feel like no one's in for Toney. Everyone around's kind of gone, nah, don't want him. He's had stuff off the pitch, which, look, don't get me wrong, I've said that already. I don't really want that, because I feel like it's not great to have that around a young, influential dressing room with the issues that Toney's had and the way he spoke about his club when he's been on holiday and things like that. I think that's an issue. I don't know if he's learned from that. I haven't seen any evidence. I haven't seen a great Ivan Toney since he returned from his ban, but he's still a good striker. We know what he's capable of, right? But no one wants him, apart from potentially a team in Saudi, or no one can afford him. Kind of the same with Osimhen. This is our chance. We need to be signing one of these players. I know they're not unbelievable, but Chelsea as a squad right now isn't unbelievable. And Chelsea as a squad right now isn't trying to sign players that are of an unbelievable level. If we were, we wouldn't be worried about paying the wages. If we wanted to go and sign the best of the best, we'd just pay the wages. But I think this board have been scarred by the likes of a Lukaku or a Sterling or a Koulibaly that have been signed for massive wages and then failed to perform, and then realise that it's actually quite difficult to get these guys off the books. So that's something they have to sort of try and learn from, and think, actually, if we're going to go and pay a lot of money and a lot of wages, that player has to be the perfect fit. And I think that's something we'll see, is that I think Todd Bowley, Clear Lake Capital, Egg Barley, they understand the worth of signing a player with the marketing ability that like a Bellingham or an Mbappe has. They know it elevates their club to a whole nother level. But they have to, one, be attractive to that type of player, and two, they have to make sure it's the perfect fit. They will not get burned again like they did with like Lukaku or Sterling or Koulibaly, those type of players. I guarantee it, they won't. There'll be way more astute and absolutely clued up on the type of person they're getting. I guarantee that they will 100%. Yeah, look, this is my worry too. If it doesn't happen, are Arsenal going to just sit there and go, do you know what? We win the league if we sign him, probably. Let's just pay it. We'll deal with it 3 years down the line when it messes up for FFP, when we've got a league title, whatever. If we get Osimhen, having Cuckoo, oh my gosh, Chelsea's team with Osimhen in is so scary. The fact that we're talking about Toney or Osimhen, people are worried. People are scared, 100%. Of course, why not? I think we need someone who plays at Haaland. I think Osimhen will be our best player. Osimhen has the ability to come in and be one of the best players. There's no doubt about it. It's huge for marketing as well on the African continent. I can see it now. The amount of Chelsea Osimhen shirts that you would see. Oh my gosh, there'll be a huge marketing campaign as well. I think you make this deal happen. Guys, I'm really excited. I really hope we can make something happen. I'm really hoping that we wake up one of the days before the end of the transfer window and this deal's done. I don't want it to drag out to deadline day. If it does, it'll be exciting no matter what. Look, it's been a pleasure chatting to every single one of you. I've seen loads of new faces in here again. We're on the road to 3,000 on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. There's loads of people in it. We've only got 30 likes. If you could smash it up to 50, that would be fantastic. It only takes a second. It's free to watch this. And I love speaking about Chelsea and building this community. So make sure to tune back in. Make sure to stick around. It's been fantastic speaking to all of you. I'll be back in the coming days in the build up to Servette, in Chelsea's deadline day run up, in terms of the games coming up at the weekend. I'm excited to see what this season brings. It's been a pleasure chatting to every single one of you. I'm not sure if anyone else is live right now or anyone else is streaming, but if you head over, let them know where you came from. I don't know how to raid or send people over on YouTube yet. I still haven't figured it out. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to all of you. Fingers crossed we make this deal happen. Fingers crossed we make that happen. Have a great evening. Check me out on all the socials. I'll be on there talking about football on TikTok, on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff as well. And I will see you in the next one. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks.